Hello fellow beings. I know this channel is basically dead, but I've been really into Yume Nikki again lately. And as I do when I get hyper-focused on a topic, I was spending my life consuming videos about the game to absorb as much information and dopamine from it as possible. And I finally found that someone had done an Iceberg video on it. And the Iceberg video was pretty good, but it didn't have some of the things I knew about and was interested in. So I got to thinking, why not make my own video? So yeah, Yume Nikki Iceberg video. So if you're unfamiliar with what an iceberg is in this context, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what an actual iceberg is. It's a way of breaking up things related to a topic and organizing it by how well known it is. So the most well-known things are up top, and the more obscure things are down at the bottom. But rather than try to make my own iceberg, I just wanted to explain one or two that I found online that included the things I wanted to talk about. And the icebergs I used will be in my sources document in the description. So thank you to the kind internet people who organized this information for me, so I don't have to. Because I am chronically disorganized. Like, it's a problem. But yeah, I took these two icebergs, sort of rearranged them in places where I felt like it, and added some extra stuff. But without further ado, let's get the stream started. Oh, and as a side note, this goes without saying, but major spoiler warnings for this game. These spoilers can be as minor as where all the effects are located, to as major as how the game ends. I will try to put timestamps to skip these spoilers when possible. Other note I almost forgot about until I was editing. Many of the entries on the iceberg include things such as unused content, or content present in previous versions of the game. Because this topic is so extensive, I've decided to save stuff about it for a future video rather than including it on this one. So keep an eye out for a video on the removed and unused content in Yume Nikki. Small content warning. This video includes discussions of bullying, suicide, abuse, and SA. I will try to provide timestamps for some of the heavier stuff, but just warning you now. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. On top of rearranging some things, I also decided to bunch things together for brevity's sake. Luckily, the person who made one of the icebergs used had it color-coded, which helped a lot in further organizing all of this information. So that said, let's start with the areas of this layer. Medoski's room is, well, Medoski's room. It's where you start the game, and during times when you're awake, this is pretty much the extent of the world, because Medoski does not want to leave. Also, other side note. Apologies for the way I pronounce Medoski's name. I've heard other people pronounce it like Madatsuki, but I'm using the more Japanese pronunciation, I think. So apologies if that throws anyone off at all. The Nexus is where you go when you leave Medoski's room during their dreams. This is just a wide space with a circle of doors that lead you to different worlds. These worlds include Number World. This is a world with narrow hallways, patterned walls, and seemingly random numbers on the ground. Shieldfolk World is a world full of shieldfolk as well as eye-like tiles that flash and make sounds when stepped on. It also has a moving background, the Mesoamerican nature of which will be discussed later on. Neon World is a world with neon floor tiles, neon creatures, and neon walls. It has a plain, black, unmoving background. Candle World is a dark world with white candles lying on the ground, some of which even walk around. These walking candles will be discussed later on in this layer. The background is a gray pattern. Eyeball World is a world dotted with eyeballs and limbs, as well as a pair of lips arranged near eyes to create a face. The background, much like Shieldfolk and Candle World, seems Mesoamerican in nature. As said before, the Mesoamerican symbolism in this game will be discussed later on. Graffiti World is a world full of colorful tiles that make different sounds when stepped on. This is actually pretty fun because each type of tile makes a different sound, unless you hate repeating noises, in which case try not to follow a path of the same tile type. The background is a strange, brightly colored shape. This, surprisingly, is going to be brought up again later. Mural World is a world full of yellow and blue walls covered in murals. These walls can range in size, from rather small to massive. Snow World is a lightly forested world with snow on the ground. Snow falls from the sky here. Dark World is a totally dark world. In order to navigate it more easily without already knowing where you're going, you need to use the lamp effect. This effect makes the dark world slightly less dark, exposing the various floor patterns. Puddle World is another world with a plain black background. Here there are scattered lamps as well as puddles that reflect a cloudy sky. Because this area is so barren, it can be hard to navigate without using these puddles and lamps as waypoints. Block World is a world full of blocks in varying sizes, all of which being white or a shade of purple. Because of how the blocks are scattered, it can be somewhat timelier to explore this world. As in, you can't just hop on your bike and go straight one direction like you can in some other worlds. The background is mostly white with an all-white version of the Aztec grave monkey, who will be mentioned later on in this layer. And finally, Forest World. This is a world full of large trees and small plants, as well as some inhabitants. The background is all black. The Aztec grave monkey is seen scrolling across the background, this time in full color. Through some exploration within these worlds, you can end up in subworlds. The subworlds that are on this layer, and thus the most well-known, are the Neon Tile Path is a somewhat long path made of pink and purple tiles. Occasionally there are purple pyramids just off the side of the path. The Footprint Path is a path of white footprints. Around the path, the environment is totally black. Although there are some monsters around some parts of the path, it's pretty straightforward, leaving very little room for exploration. The Checkered Tile Path is a path with a purple and white tiled pattern. The background has a purple mist-like design. Here, a lunatic Tory Ninja can be found. If you're caught off guard or not quick enough, she can trap you. The Tory Ninja will be mentioned several times during this iceberg. The mall is an area made up of long hallways with purple walls, as well as some rooms along the walls and a staircase. Because the floor is totally black with no background, you must use these walls to navigate. The mall contains many inhabitants of note, all of which will be discussed at some point. The sewers is an area consisting of tunnels and rooms near the end of them. All of the creatures that live here will be discussed in this layer and the next. The Barrack Settlement is an area surrounded by a green fence. The ground is brown, almost looking like dirt. Poles and small buildings are found scattered throughout the area. Face Carpet Plaza is an area full of purple and green faces, all of which you can walk over. This area is surrounded by purplish spikes, which are also present on some of the face carpets. Another lunatic Tory Ninja is found here, as well as a Nanrikido, which you can interact with to escape. Interact with a Nanrikido, I mean. You can interact with a Tory Ninja, but the results won't be as desirable, so yeah, they're probably best to be avoided. The White Desert is an area that's actually broken up into multiple locations. White Desert A, White Desert B, and the Underground Lagoon. In all of these areas, everything is in black and white, although White Desert B does contain some red in some areas. White Desert A has long block-like objects as well as cactus-like foliage. These areas are unique for how different they look than any other worlds discussed previously. Not only are they almost entirely black and white, but the White Desert itself has a distinct art style. All the characters that live here will be discussed further later on. Dense Woods is another location with A and B areas. Dense Woods A contains many light-colored coniferous trees and paths between these trees. Here, it is always raining. There is also a vending machine found here, one of many found throughout different areas. These machines and what they do will be discussed later. Dense Woods B has a different color palette, being much darker. The environment is totally dark, save for the limited pathways you can take. Here, deciduous trees can be found around the pathways. In some parts of this area, the lamp effect is needed to more properly see some of the creatures that live here. In one area of Dense Woods B, there is also a street. The train car is a faded brown train car with a singular door. Once inside the train car, there are two benches, containing one or two creatures depending on when it's entered. Once entered, the train starts moving. This can be seen by looking through the windows that line the back wall. Riding the train for a few seconds takes you to a new location. Witch's Island is accessed by riding the train for 7 seconds. You can tell you've waited long enough because when exiting the train car, the sky will be red rather than blue. The Witch's Island looks very similar to Dense Woods B, having the same color palette. All of the creatures that can be found here will be discussed in layers 1 through 3. The wilderness is the biggest area in the game. The ground is a whitish sand, and scattered all throughout are small gray plants as well as longer ones that are spindly and curled near the ends. These plants create paths between them that lead you to deeper areas, which can lead to certain characters and events, which will be discussed. Although there are paths between these plants, this doesn't make the area any easier to navigate, as many of these paths lead to dead ends, and the curls of the larger plants can make it harder to see what is and isn't traversable. Luckily, the density of these plants stands out in deeper areas, such as the Infinite Wilderness. Sky Garden is an area that looks like a park, with interspersed light posts, trees, and benches. Ghost World is a location with black floors and large concrete pillars. In fact, in Japanese, this world is known as the Concrete Ruins. Several ghosts can be found here. The Pink Sea, or Pastel Sea, is a large area where just about everything is pink. The ground is pink, the sea surrounding it is pink, and even these structures are somewhat pinkish. The only things here that aren't pink, well, most of them anyway, are the balloons that can be used to travel between the sea and the land. The Famicom House, or FC House, is one of the Famicom locations. Here, the world is entirely pixelated, even Madotsuki, which is really fun because that means there's a version of every effect in this style. The FC House looks incredibly similar to Nintendo's house in Mother 1. I mean, it's uncanny how similar they look. Inside the house, there are many doors and winding hallways. Famicom World A looks very different from the Famicom House. The ground is a bright brown, with some parts being covered by lava or water. And the final location on this layer is the Famicom Dungeon. This area is totally dark, meaning this is another example of a location where the lamp effect is pretty much necessary. The dungeon is called a dungeon for a reason. There are many paths, several of which lead to dead ends. It's pretty easy to get lost in here, even when you know exactly where you want to end up. How the area looks differs depending on how deep into the dungeon you are. Some areas have red and black walls, some have pink and green walls with a face-like pattern, and some areas are completely monochrome. Wonder what that reminds me of. But this location has no characters, although one event can occur here. On this layer are some of the many random characters, or NPCs, you can find within the worlds. Some of these characters just make a sound, some do nothing, and some give you effects, which can change Medotsuki's appearance or give them the ability to do something. If you don't want to hear where these characters are located, thus how to unlock all of these abilities, you can skip to this time. But the characters on level 1 include the Frog, who gives you the Frog power-up. This effect gives you a frog head and lets you just kind of hop around, as a frog does. The Frog is found in the Forest World, or in Dense Woods B. It also lets you swim faster, which sounds pretty useful, but honestly there aren't a ton of places where you need to swim, and you can just use the bicycle anyway, so... Yukiona, or the Snow Woman, gives you the effect of the same name. This effect turns you into a snow woman, which causes it to snow. She can be found in Snow World. Midamaude, or Midamoto, or
Medamawan.
Honestly, not sure how to pronounce this one, and the internet did not help. But Medamaude, or the eye palm, gives you the eye palm effect. This is honestly one of the more practical effects because it lets you instantly travel to the Nexus. Like, okay, lost? Got banished by a spooky bird lady? Just nope out of there. It's great. Midamaude is found in Eyeball World, which is pretty fitting. The Strober is found on the docks and gives you the Fat effect, which is just a cosmetic change and provides no new abilities. When pressing 1 with this effect, Medotsuki's stomach growls. The Dwarf gives you the Dwarf effect, and he's found in Candle World. And yes, that is what I'm calling this effect because I've heard the real name is offensive, so I'm just not going to say it. This effect lets you become tiny, which can allow you to access some otherwise inaccessible areas. You can also, for some reason, clone yourself and blow the clones up. Why? What does this have to do with the effect? Why is it kind of fun? The Neon Parrot is a neon parrot, I guess. He's in the neon world and gives you the neon effect. This effect gives Medotsuki a glowing neon outline and lets you change the color of the world, which is honestly a little bit less exciting than it sounds. The Noperabo ghost is a faceless ghost found in the sewers. They give you the Noperabo or faceless effect, which is another purely cosmetic effect that removes Medotsuki's face. You can also do this. The Guillotine is a sentient guillotine with a face that gives you the severed head effect. It is found, as expected, in Guillotine World. This turns Medotsuki into just a head, which makes you walk really slow. So it's like the opposite of practical. Either way, it's funny, but it doesn't really do much for you. Itamomen is found in the wilderness and gives you the towel effect. It's mostly cosmetic, but at least you can do this. The neck coin is... God damn it, I just got the joke. It's a cat coin. A neko coin. A neck coin. The neck coin is found in the Shield Folk world and gives you the cat effect. This effect lets you meow, which draws characters to you, which does have its use in certain situations. The walking lamp gives you the lamp effect, and it's found in the lamp world. I like this little guy, he's got cute little shoes. The lamp effect is actually really useful, especially if you're trying to navigate some areas such as the Dark World and the FC Dungeon. Basically it acts like Flash from Pokemon, so it just lights up a dark location. The mouth monsters actually refers to 3 separate NPCs that give you the hair effects. 2 of them can be found in Mirror World and give you the blonde hair and long hair effects. The last one can be found in the Underground and gives you the poop hair effect. The first 2 hair effects, the long hair and blonde hair, are entirely cosmetic. The poop hair is mostly cosmetic, but you can drop a fly, which apparently some people have said they've used as a waypoint in some of the more confusing areas. I've never done this, but it is technically useful. Fleabee is a ghost that resides in Ghost World. As the name suggests, he flees from you, but if you can catch up to him, he gives you the triangle kerchief effect. This effect lets you turn invisible, which lets you avoid certain unsavory dream baddies we'll get onto later. Kimajo is a tree with glowing eyes that is found on Witch's Island. This effect lets you fly around on a little broom, which is honestly adorable, but it doesn't really help you move faster or anything. The Famicom or FC demon gives you the Oni or demon effect. He's in the basement of the Famicom house. This effect is another cosmetic one and gives Medotsuki red skin, horns, and a striped dress type thing. One cool thing about this effect is that if you press 1 in a location where it's raining, this causes thunder and lightning. Buyo Buyo is a critter. Okay, I don't know what he is, but he certainly is something. And he's found in Famicom World B. It gives you the Buyo Buyo effect, which makes Madotsuki all jiggly. O-Man is a man with an O head. He's found in the mall in the room where you find the flute effect. This effect doesn't do much special, but it does let you play a little tune. I kinda wish it did do something special because it's pretty cute. Shitai-san is a character who is, well, dead. Does a dead guy even count as a character? But he's found in what looks to be a car accident of some kind. He gives you the stoplight effect. This effect allows you to freeze enemies in place when activated. It also causes other characters to react in unusual ways, which we will discuss in a bit. The Alley Demon is a demon found in the sewers. Batsu are NPCs that look like plants with a single red eye. They're found in the wilderness. Jellyfish are red jellyfish? Weird looking jellyfish, but okay. Here's one in the dense woods. Body parts can refer to many different NPCs, most of which are found in the eyeball world. These include eyes, legs, arms, and lips. Kamakarako is a human character who can be found sleeping in an igloo in the snow world. Music is so soothing in this location. In this igloo I often like to curl up and sleep too. Mafarako is a ghost-like NPC wearing a scarf and hat, much like the one Madotsuki wears when using the hat and scarf effect. She's invisible and found in the block world. Talking to her teleports you to a random location in block world. When using the stoplight effect around her, she becomes visible. This exposes a humanoid girl with a blue jacket, a red skirt, and long dark hair that obscures most of her face. The neon creatures are the creatures that inhabit Neon World, and come in 8 exciting flavors. You got Wiggles, you got Square, you got Arcade Machine, there's Long Triangle Guy, here's one that looks like a mouse, almost, and Lamp, I think. And okay, I don't know what this guy is, honestly. And we've got Clearly Distressed Demon. There's not much super interesting about them, but I do appreciate that each type makes their own sound when talked to, so that's pretty cool. Second Masada Sensei is a monochrome guy who is found on the spaceship and seems to be piloting it with a keyboard. The Kudo-kun is a rectangle guy found in a room at the mall, and it looks like his head is bleeding or leaking some neon red fluid. When you talk to him, he tips over and spills. And honestly, my reaction to interacting with strangers, I feel. The Tori Ninja are the closest thing you'll see to enemies in this game. Well, sometimes. Normally they're just human bird girls who wander around. But when you see them in what's called a lunatic state, they will actively chase you. In this state, they have their tongues out and their eyes are bright purple. If a Tori Ninja catches you in this state, you'll be transported to a place that's basically a dead end. And the only way out of it is to wake up or use the eye palm effect to return to the Nexus. They can't be killed, and in fact, if you use a knife on a regular Tori Ninja, she will go into a lunatic state. Which, that's fair. You can evade lunatic Tori Ninja by using the stoplight effect to freeze them, or using the triangle kerchief effect to turn invisible. But I honestly usually just hop on my bike to flee from them. Their movements are slow and erratic enough to where they can be outrun on a bicycle. There are a few Tori Ninja of note though. One is a non-violent lunatic Tori Ninja found in the mall behind a counter. She can't attack you, and if you talk to her, you're actually able to change the menu color. Another Tori Ninja of note can be found in Candle World. She's not in lunatic state, but if you decide to stab her, well... This one is pretty infamous for how insanely fast she goes. The other Tori Ninja worth mentioning can be found in the wilderness, where they're having a party. You can't access the party or interact with them, but how this can be interpreted will be discussed later. Honestly, these characters have a lot that warrant interpretation. The walking candles are walking candles, and they are found in the Candle World. The wheelies are wheels with legs, found in Number World. One of which blocks a room. How you handle this problem is up to you. You can cat your way in, or choose violence. This room being blocked is completely full of wheelies. Unfortunately, you can't cat your way through this area, only cut through it. This room is fittingly referred to as the stabbing room. Zipper Tile is another NPC found in the Number World, and he's just a tile with a zipper, basically. He doesn't do much, but if you stab him, you can go through him to another area. The frog characters actually doesn't refer to the frog mentioned earlier. These characters are found in the Forest World and are... frogs? Never seen a frog that looks like that, but that's what the wiki says. Mars-san is found on Mars and looks like an eyeball with a leg. Talking to them makes them play a short tune. It is also thought that they are a reference to Kikiyama, the creator of the game, as they're found interacting with the machine inside a mountain, referring to the fact that Kikiyama translates to Machine Mountain. The severed blue head is a screaming bright blue head next to a blood stain and some arms. It's found in Eyeball World, and entering its mouth takes you to the footprint path. The shield folk are found in Shield Folk World and come in many different designs. The entry 2 frogs might refer to many different things. It could refer to the fact that there are 2 different frog designs, the fact that there are 2 of this kind of frog, the 2 variants of this kind of frog, or the fact that when you interact with this kind of frog, it creates a trippy effect, where the frog image is duplicated over Midotsky. Kyukyu-kun is this guy? He's hidden in the stairway and just kinda sits there rubbing the handrail. This is another character that has some interpretations. Monoe is a human girl NPC found in the White Desert. When interacted with, you get an up-close look at her. Monoko, while looking somewhat similar to Monoe from a distance, is totally different. She's another monochrome humanoid character found in the White Desert, but when you use the stoplight effect on her, you see a close-up of her and she looks incredibly disfigured, growing extra limbs and taking on a weird facial expression where her eye looks to be melting. Poniko is a female human character found in this house in the Pink Sea. She doesn't do much. Well, mostly. If you mess with the light switch in her house, there's a 1 out of 64 chance she will transform into a different character called Uboa. Uboa is a surprisingly well-known character. Surprising, as in, he's really hard to even see in the game, so it's odd he got so popular. In order to see Uboa, you have to enter the Pink Sea, a subworld, enter this house, hit this random light switch, and get lucky. I'm sure before his popularization, most people playing this game just entered this house, turned off the light, nothing happened, and then they just left. But when you turn off this light switch, there's a 1 in 64 chance Uboa will appear. When Uboa is in the house, you can't go through the door, and you can't use the light switch again to turn lights back on. At this point, you can only wake up or interact with him. Doing so takes you to this weird area. Apparently this area is part of the White Desert, and it's just referred to as Uboa's Trap. And as in the case of most traps, you can't leave this area until you wake yourself up. Well, I mean, that part doesn't apply to most traps, just the whole, not being able to escape thing. Yeah. But hey, there's water here, so I guess the frog effect does do something. Like, letting you walk around the sleeping dead end area faster, I guess. The bloody touching monster is this huge guy on the background in the area you're trapped in after talking to Uboa. He has large black hand-like shapes, seemingly walking on or grabbing white hills. He is spewing a red substance from his mouth as well as behind him. Photosensitivity warning, by the way. If you're at all sensitive to bright flashing lights, please skip to this time. Face, or F-A-C-E. This event triggers one of the few jumpscares in the game, another of which being the Uboa event. If you interact with this door, the screen is overtaken by a looping picture that looks like a face while a loud sound plays. This event causes Midotsky to wake up, as if startled awake by a nightmare. The Aztec Rave Monkey is an event that happens when you look into this box in the wilderness. This one, which is just called the hiragana for Ah, is an event that is triggered when you're attacked by a lunatic Torin engine. This just sends you to a dead-end area of Numbers World where the walls and floors are covered in. The Drawings in the Sewers event is an event triggered by you looking in one of the many holes in the walls in the sewer. It just causes a black and white drawing to come up. Each hole brings up a different drawing. And the last event on the first layer is the ending. So again, major spoiler. If you haven't seen this yourself and don't want to have the end spoiled for you, which I would highly recommend, please skip to this time. Okay, has everyone who wants to leave left yet? Okay, cool. So the game does, despite what you might assume, have an actual ending. Once you collect all of the effects, you can return to the Nexus and drop them all off. They should appear in the world as eggs in different colors. Once you've dropped them all, and you wake up, a stepladder will appear on Midotsky's balcony that wasn't there before. And if you choose to do so, you can. And the game ends, with the black screen with the blood splatter on it, and eventually jellyfish enter the scene. This ending is as confusing as it is controversial. Some people don't like the ending, and some wish there wasn't even an official ending of the game. Personally, I'm more interested in the many ways that this can be interpreted, some of which I'll be going over later. The rest of the entries on this layer would be classed as Other, as in they don't fit into any other categories. BGM, I believe, refers to background music. I could be wrong and this could be a reference to something else, but the background music is the only thing that makes sense with the first layer. The background music is actually pretty impactful in my experience. It kind of sets the tone for the area. The background music ranges from unsettling to nostalgic, to calming, to moody. But every time it seems to fit the area well. Kikiyama is the creator of the game, and they are notoriously secretive. Are they male or female? Is it even just one individual? We literally have no idea. Kikiyama is such a mystery it was thought for a while that they weren't even alive anymore. Nasu, or NASU, is the name of the game you can play while awake. It's super simple, but it's pretty cool you can even play it, even if I'm not very good at it. The Yume Nikki Wiki is just a wiki of all the information in the game. The wiki has been the MVP during my research for this iceberg. Also, shout out to the Yume Wiki, which provides a similar collection of information. Hello. Sorry this video ended so abruptly. I ended it so abruptly because I wanted to know what you guys wanted me to do with it. So I've got 8 layers on the iceberg, and I wanted to know if you wanted to do individual layers as individual videos, or 1 through 3 and 5 through 8. And yes, that would be half and half. By word count, that would be half and half. Or did you want me to do 1 through 8 all as one video? Just let me know, and also let me know some feedback about this video, how you like it, what I need to improve on for the next time I make a video, etc, etc. Thank you. Have a fantabulous day.